So I'm here with a very special guest. Do you want to say what your name is?
Yeah, I'm Paul D. This is my home.
Very good. So I'm in Paul D's house. So me and Paul D, we've been talking for a while. What, about a year?
Yeah, about a year now.
Okay,
Holy
over the
crap.
phone. I met him last week. Nice guy. Met his lovely wife Tracy. The reason why we've been talking, me and you, we talk about all kinds of different subjects.
Oh, yeah, everything you could think of.
But there's one subject of the reason why we came together, and that is the subject of UFOs and extraterrestrials. You got a very interesting story, to say the least. You told me over the phone that you've been abducted several times before.
Yeah, it's not like I'm going to wear it as a t-shirt down the street, but
Right.
yes.
But, so whatever people might think about the UFO phenomenon or what have you, you told me that you've been abducted more than once.
Yeah, it started with my childhood, actually.
And we've never gotten to that story because when we would talk on the phone, well, we're talking about everything else.
We
but
start
that.
and then we get
Of course.
sidetracked.
So this is the first time I'm hearing your story.
The full thing, yeah, anyway.
Yeah, because we never talk because we talk about everything.
We get the bits and parts. And
Right. So now I'm going to finally ask you. Let's start from the beginning. When was the first time that you had an actual?
That I remember having one?
Yeah, correct.
I think I'm about 8 years old. And I know it's before my grandfather died. The summer my grandfather died, because I remember I was going to summer school that year. And I think that was either second or third grade, so and I was always a year older than my class, so I think I was 8. And I used to sleep over one of my aunts and uncle's houses on Sunday nights. And what's interesting is the first abduction happened there.
Okay.
It was kind of like middle of the night. One of the first things I remember was being taken to a room where I was told a bunch of things that I didn't like. I can't remember much specific, but it was stuff that I half understood, but other stuff I kind of understood, and the gist I got that I wasn't going to like certain things in my future. And when I think about it, my grandfather did die the next summer.
And they told you that was going to happen?
Well, the day before my grandfather died, I knew it was going to happen. I had almost like an ESP experience, so... Or thinking about something they said, so I kind of had an idea it was going to happen. It was not a very pleasant being in this room.
Can you describe the room?
Very dark. But I remember clearly like a speaker in the ceiling, round, kind of like almost like a light, but like an intercom type thing. Like, where you could hear the vibrations coming through.
Right.
Now, that might have been my perception, because mostly these little bastards talk with telepathy.
Little bastards. So, what do these little bastards look like?
Well, they were gray.
Did they look like
Big
the typical
heads.
gray that we've seen?
Sort of, yeah. But there were bigger ones around. But I remember, and this is jumping ahead a little bit, one of the little bastards did take me off the ship when they were done with me and put me back.
Okay, when you're in this room and you said it's dark, you couldn't see the walls.
And not in that room, but like they took me to another room.
Now, are you walking on your own?
Yeah, I was walking on my own. And I remember like talking to the speaker, and I was standing up. And I'm looking up like this.
And again, you were 8 years old at the time. Were you the same size as them, or
They were a little bigger than me.
do you remember? Did they?
And I was a tall kid.
And Did they touch you? Did they? Do you remember any kind of like? Was it cold where you were?
It was cold. That much I do remember. Like, one room they took me to, they kind of tried to make me think I was back in my bedroom. But I knew I wasn't. Because I went to a window. And I saw, like, the highway below us. And my aunt and uncle did not live off a highway.
Okay.
So it was like the sensation of flying.
You could feel yourself being pulled.
Yeah. It was really weird. It was like I knew they were trying to make me feel comfortable by trying to fool me that I was back in my aunt's bed, the bedroom in my aunt's house. But like I said, when I looked out the window, I clearly saw we were flying.
Okay. Now I want to ask you: is it the same sensation on when you take off in an airplane?
It's different. Because, like, in an airplane, you really should be buckled up. Like, you've been on an airplane, I imagine, Lamont?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. I used to go to North Carolina all the time. Like, as an adult. Like, from 2008 for, like, about 5 years straight. I used to go visit a friend of mine every month.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you this, even though JetBlue is a very smooth airline, you should really be seated on a plane because you never know when it's going to dip.
Correct.
This was a little different. You could feel the gravity pull, but it was smoother.
Okay.
A lot smoother.
So through the glass, when you're taking off, you can see.
We weren't taking off. We were in flight.
So you can see
the highway below. I looked out the window. You ever, like, in a plane and you look down?
Yeah, you can see.
This was like, try to magnify that 100 times.
What do you mean magnify it? Like the distance?
No, like being able to see. Like, you ever notice, like, when you're, like, coming into, let's say, JFK,
mm-hmm.
you see all the lights in New York City.
Correct.
But you're far away.
Right.
I knew I wasn't that far off the highway.
Are you trying to say that the perception was 100% like...
You could, like, I could see things clearer. Like 100 times clearer.
Okay.
Like, I knew there were car lights. So it was either the highway that was near my aunt's house, or it was the Long Island Expressway.
How fast do you think you were going?
Oh, we must have been going at least a couple 100 miles an hour.
Okay, so you weren't going very fast at all. So
right, but it was fast enough to, like, move around, to feel the moving around.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But not fast, but not unsteady enough where you're like, oh my God, let me get in the seat and put my seatbelt on.
Okay.
Like I said, it was smoother.
Right.
Now, if this thing started wrapping around, I would have wanted to have been in a seatbelt.
All right.
Because, like you said, it wasn't going all that fast. But fast enough you could see the highway below where you could see the headlights well, but you wouldn't have been able to really make out a license plate.
Okay, so you're looking through the window, you see the highway. What happens next after you see this?
It was like things just became a blur for a while. Either I passed out, or they got me back to my aunt's house. Because the next memory is one of the Greys having, and this guy had a huge head. A huge head, like bigger than you see in most of the sketch artists. He held my hand and walked me off the ship.
Let's talk about this. And
the hand was cold as fuck. Part of my language.
No, it's okay. The F word is encouraged whenever you feel the need to do.
But it was cold. Like, these guys do not have warm blood.
So I'm assuming it would be cold, like holding an ice cube, or
it was almost like being in air conditioning, touching the hand. You know, like you touch it, like if you're in air conditioning and get really cold.
Was there any kind of sensation or feeling of their hand that kind of took you like a not by surprise because the whole thing is surprising, but with any kind of touch or
It was just a very cold hand.
just a cold hand, but you didn't think like the skin was odd, scaly, or just slippery.
It was the inner part of the skin, like your palm.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't really super scaly or anything.
Do you remember how many fingers it had?
4.
Were they longer than yours?
Very much longer. Even the thumb.
Was
And keep in mind now, I am 8 years old at this time.
yeah.
You know, how many 8-year-olds are that tall?
What color was the skin?
Gray.
So other than the ginormous head that this being had,
It was a dark gray.
a dark gray. Okay.
And the eyes, pretty much the eyes people got right.
Big, huge,
Big,
black
buggy.
eyes.
Now, there are a lot of people who think those are lenses. That you take them on, that you can take them on and off.
Mm.
That's still possible.
Right.
I didn't see them take them on or off or anything. This thing did try to make me feel comfortable walking off the ship.
How did it make you feel comfortable?
It did take my hand and walk with me, and
Oh, okay, so so would you say the touch? I mean, would you say it was? Were you scared or what were you thinking?
I wasn't scared, but I was like in a state of almost like a zombie-like state,
Right.
where you're like, is this real? Is this a dream?
Do you think it was real?
Oh, I know it's real.
Do you remember when you were on the ship at this time? Do you remember them doing anything to you, telling you? I mean, how would they? First of all, how did they speak to you? How did they communicate with you?
Mostly telepathically, except when when I was in that room.
With the speaker?
Right, but I think that might have been there for my. How would you put it? So I wouldn't have freaked out for my comfort level.
So when you say they spoke to you telepathically, is it the similar story where people recount almost being answered a question that they didn't even get out of their mouth?
I didn't get that, but then again, I'm 8 years old at the time.
Right.
But I would get, got like mostly from the guy walking me off the ship, a very calm demeanor from him.
Uh-huh.
Almost like whatever they did there, they were done with for now.
Do you remember what they did?
No, but I know it was there for a while. Like I said, I had a period of blackout once I looked outside the window and saw everything. I remember that, everything just went hazy.
Look, I want to talk about the second room that you went into. What color was the inside of this room?
Which room? The one that looked like the bedroom, or the one that looked like...
Yes.
They really tried to make it look like the bedroom I was sleeping with in my aunt's house.
So you believe that they didn't physically make this room? Do you believe it was some kind of in your head that they
I believe it was a projection
of your room, correct?
mostly, because here it is. It's nighttime. Why didn't I just go back into bed? I'm talking middle of the night at least. Let's say 1, 2 in the morning at this point.
And as all you remember is the projection of your room. And then, so when you're being walked out of the craft, do you remember what the craft looked like?
Roundish.
Was it the typical flying saucer?
Yeah, it wasn't anything special. Like there was no. I can't tell you it was a different type of ship.
It was just a round.
Yeah.
Like, was it round like a basketball or round like?
Like, almost like, how do I put this? Ovalish.
Like, was it flat or was it?
No, it wasn't flat.
How big was it? Was it as big as your house or?
About that. About as big as a house. If not, at least a half a house, if not.
What color was the craft?
I only remember it being dark colors, like gray, like a metal.
Do you remember any kind of edges, rivets?
It was very smooth.
Almost like it was. Could you guess? Like how they could have been made? What I'm asking is,
How would you make something like that? Well, that would have to be a metal we haven't discovered yet how to manipulate, because it was just very
perfect?
smooth.
Yeah, like no, you didn't see any rivets, corners.
Right,
How
exactly.
we normally build buildings.
Like, do you ever
that's,
see the
crafted.
movie The Aviator?
No.
Okay. There's a scene in there where Leonardo DiCaprio, who plays Howard Hughes, wants the whole plane to be smooth. No rivets, no nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best I could describe it. It was even smoother than that. Like Travis Walton, you know who he is, right?
Correct.
Most people probably do in the UFO community. Travis Walton said, Hollywood, when they did the movie Fire in the Sky, and they showed the ship, Hollywood kind of did their own version of the ship.
There was a lot more in that movie than actually what happened.
Right, but that's usual.
Yeah, of course.
Even the movie Argo isn't perfect.
You gotta dress it up.
Right, but the thing is, he said, like, the Smith ship was very smooth. And I don't remember, like, feeling a wall and feeling a nail. Or feeling a rivet. Things just felt smoothie.
Okay.
And it matched kind of like the way the ship flew. You kind of knew when it was flying.
But just a very smooth controlled
Yes.
acceleration.
I mean, for all I know, I could have been flying over Iowa.
When they led you off the craft, did he say anything before he left?
No. It's like this. When we walked down the ramp, I was kind of back in my bedroom. Or at least in the bedroom my aunt had me in.
And that was it.
Yeah, and I woke up the next morning.